Oddworld New and Tasty, the important questions about Uncharted 4, guinea pig spies, the adventures of Bantman, and a very divisive question about sandwiches. All of this and more in this episode of Staying In.
You guys, you haven't, Pete, because you're a dullard and you don't watch films.
Yeah.
You've not seen Ant-Man, have you?
Bantman?
Ant-Man.
Oh, Ant-Man. No.
Bantman. I tell you what, he can't punch anyone through a wall, but he's got classic banter.
Hey, Brev, I got this well funny joke about David Cameron. We should totally make Bantman.
Bantman.
Yeah. Bants.
No, I haven't seen.
I said Ant-Man.
Right.
Ant-Man. No, you've not seen, have you?
No.
No. Okay. And you've not seen Civil War either?
No, but I want to.
Okay. Well, when you see Civil War, you can... hopefully you'll join me in my petition to get Marvel to stop. Okay?
We'll just stop.
Well, one specific thing. I kind of want Marvel to stop doing... Basically, I think they've invested all of their money into perfecting the technique of making really old people look really, really young.
It's pretty amazing.
Dan, it's terrifying. So in Ant-Man / Bantman, they turn Michael Douglas into young Michael Douglas.
And it's flawless.
So it's still him, but it's young him. And then in Civil War, they turn Robert Downey Jr. into, when he was bad and took drugs, Robert Downey Jr.
Right, okay.
And let's not forget when they turned big, burly Chris Evans into skinny, weedy Chris Evans.
Yes. And Hayley Atwell into old dementia Hayley Atwell. But anyway, the young stuff, they just stop.
What?
Stop
but
it.
why, though? Like, is that...
It's scaring Sam.
Does it not look good, or...?
No, it looks great, but if I was an up-and-coming actor, I'd be pissing myself right now. Just be like, who we can get for this role? Oh, Robert Downey Jr. is 80 now, so he's a bit beyond it. No, he's not.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? Like, Tupac performed on stage, like, a couple of years ago as a hologram. Like, what good is there in... Like, this is it. We're just going to sit with a certain amount of actors and performers.
We're done now. We've
This is it. Yeah.
got everything we need.
No more actors, just holograms.
It's just showing off, really. Because both the scenes in question could have been done other ways. Like, there was no reason to actually put them in other than, we're just showing off that we've got this tech and isn't it great? But hey-ho. When you see... Why didn't you want to see Ant-Man?
Why didn't I want to?
Yeah.
Because... Who's the lead star in it?
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd. I remember watching something with Paul Rudd in, and it was the sort of movie where it would have a white background and red big font writing on the actual poster itself, like one of those, like, American Pie-esque sorts of comedies. I saw him in something like that, and I was like, is that going to be Ant-Man?
Was it with Jason Segel? I Love You, Man.
What?
What?
Was it with Jason Segel, the film called I Love You, Man?
I don't know.
Wasn't that Adam Sandler?
No.
Oh no, that was I Love Chuck, was it? When he pretended to be a homosexual.
I've never heard of these movies.
What?
At all. I've never heard of what... You could literally be, like, making up names of films at this point.
Do you mean you missed when Hollywood went through a period of creating homosexual-based romantic comedies? Because they'd run out of female leads. So Adam Sandler did one.
Yeah.
And apparently so did Paul Rudd.
I think you're criticising Hollywood a bit too much there, because I think it was only Adam Sandler who tried
But what was I
that.
Love You, Man all about?
It's about I've not seen it, but I think it's about a man and his best friend, his best man. So he's getting married, and he's his best man, and it
turns into, like, what, and there's, like, unrequited feelings, or...
Yeah, the best man at the... If anyone has anything to say, please say now. I love you, man! Paul Rudd, I love you, man! And everyone's like, oh, yeah, I love you too, mate. Sorry, Veronica.
I don't think that was precisely the narrative they were going for.
That would have been nice, though. That would have been
nice, Dan. Come on, Hollywood's come a long way.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with men loving men.
No, I just heard. All right, don't backtrack, Dan. Your a clear hatred. No, but I guess the reason I didn't go and see Ant-Man is because it's the same reason that I didn't go and see Guardians of the Galaxy for a few weeks after it came out, because I was like, well, is this just going to be? I don't know. I don't know any of the heroes. I don't know I don't know if I'd be bothered.
Sorry, Ant-Man and Guardians are the only two Marvel films my wife has seen. She liked Ant-Man and really didn't like Guardians, was bored by Guardians. She has no interest in watching any more, but she really enjoyed Ant-Man. Because it's just kind of... It's one of the most, I'd say, flippant and frivolous of the Marvel films, which is saying something.
Right.
No, I wouldn't say frivolous. That's the wrong word. But
I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, it's light-hearted and it doesn't take itself seriously.
yeah. I had completely the same reaction, but she's not my wife. But if it was your wife, that would have been weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was saying to my girlfriend, I was like, she was asking me how Civil War was. I was like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's a good film. It's a good Marvel film. And she showed no interest until I told her Ant-Man was in it. She went, really? Paul Rudd? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, cool. I wish I'd gone to see it now.
I see. When I told my wife, I said, Paul Rudd, Ant-Man is in this film. She was like, sorry, should I care? I was like, she has no interest whatsoever in seeing
You tried to include her in one of the things that you like.
Yeah, and she shot
quite
me down.
rightfully shot you right down. Do you see, in rather exciting news, do you see, is it Dolph Lundgren has said he wouldn't mind playing Cable?
All right.
In an upcoming Marvel movie, and like
you got me so excited then, and I thought you're going to be like Dolph Lundgren's doing another Universal Soldier.
Oh, no,
that was.
He's going back to the old role of He-Man.
Oh my god,
that would have been good as well. But like,
was Dolph Lundgren Universal Soldier? Who was or was that? Hang on,
I think he was.
There's so many
Universal Soldier. Was that Jean-Claude Van Damme?
There was two of them in the film. Not as in...
How can it be one Universal Soldier if there's two of them?
Because one of them's an evil one and one of them's a...
One of them's a Universal Soldier, one of them's the locally sourced soldier.
Yeah. You know, like adapters. You know, you get like Universal adapters. And
but you get the one for your home country.
Then you get the one, yeah.
I would definitely rather have locally sourced, like organic, good soil association, Universal Hunter.
Brilliant. Right. The IMDb plot synopsis for Universal Soldier.
Yeah.
Private Luke DeVreaux and his sadistic sergeant, Andrew Scott, played by Lundgren, got killed in Vietnam. Right. The army uses their bodies for a secret project, reanimating dead soldiers as deadly obedient cyborgs. However, their memories come back too. So it's like RoboCop, basically.
I've not seen RoboCop.
I've seen flashes of RoboCop.
What do you mean flashes of RoboCop?
Well, I've seen parts of RoboCop which come to me in flashes. Yeah. I have nightmares.
Right.
You've only seen... Have you seen RoboCop all the way through?
No.
Oh.
Well, P hasn't seen it at all.
Yeah, but it's not surprising that I've not seen it because I don't watch movies. I'm disappointed in you, Dan.
What was the last movie you did watch?
Last movie I watched was...
When was it? And we'll try and guess.
Oh, no.
Have you remembered?
Oh, no. Yeah, so I think... And we only got halfway through it because we nearly...
What?
We only got halfway through the last movie that I watched because it was quite late at night, but we got about halfway through G-Force.
Is that the one about hamsters?
Yeah, it's the one about basically they train up a bunch of guinea pigs to be like, and gerbils and stuff, to be spies, and they get sent out on missions to spy on people and stuff. And it's got it's got some pretty good like acting talent in it. And then it's got
you say acting talent. But isn't it all CGI?
No, it's not all CGI. The guinea pigs mostly are, but the human beings
mostly.
Yeah, they mostly are. I think there's some scenes where there are actual real guinea pigs.
Dressed as spies.
Just as spies. It's pretty good, though.
No.
The most impressive thing about G-Force is well worth is well worth watching the opening 15 minutes, is you go into it thinking, well, this is going to be tongue-in-cheek, this is going to be like really, really silly and all that sort of stuff. But you go into it, and there's this strange seriousness to everything, where they expect you to get on board with the lore pretty quickly. Like you're in the, they drop you in the middle of this mission, and it's not like an introduction to everybody. It just feels like you should already know who the G-Force are. It's really strange. It's a really strange opening, and it feels like it's quite self-serious, and you're never 100% sure if it's being played for laughs or if it's actually like, no, this is the G-Force, they're well cool, they're guinea pigs and they're spies.
Oh my God.
Wow. I am stunned, but not at all surprised.
Right.
In your film watching abilities. What drew you to it?
Yeah,
what drew
yeah.
you
Out
to G-Force?
of all the films that you could have seen.
Yeah, of all the films you could possibly see, at what point did you look at guinea pig spies and think, that's the film for me?
How does anybody see the phrase guinea pig spies and not think, yeah, I'm on board?
Yeah.
I'm on
I can
board.
get that.
I can only imagine you just going for a light movie experience. You didn't want to go too in depth. You didn't want to lose yourself.
Yeah, I don't like heavy movies, to be perfectly honest with you. I much prefer lighter, more frothy, sweet kind of stuff. Like, for me, life is far too stressful and sad as it is. So it's like, I'd much rather just be sat down and told about why, like Beverly Hills Chihuahua is one of my favourite movies, because it's great. It's got everything you want. It's got a little bit of peril, but everything's fine.
I'm starting to see a pattern of movies that you like.
With small rodent-shaped animals.
Yeah. Well, like, have you ever heard of the series, like, Air Bud?
Yeah.
Like, I'm
with the basketball.
Yeah, with the dog. So there's loads of them. There's like Ski Bud, Air Bud, Hockey Bud, Soccer Bud. Like, I basically have resigned myself to the fact that at some point I will get ill, right? And I will be like, oh, I don't feel very good. So I would probably just like take the day off work at some point, feeling like absolute crap, and then be like, I'm going to watch as much of the Bud canon as possible and see, try and get into the really big lore and meta fiction of the Bud universe.
So is that one of your go-to requirements for a film, to have an animal protagonist?
It hasn't got to, but like it certainly adds an extra star when I come to think about.
And when you suggest these films, do you have to convince your other half that this is a good idea?
Yeah, Alex is like, why are we watching this? This is ridiculous. This is silly. This is rubbish. But then we get
as
like,
we've heard
through.
from her before on the podcast, she's a very smart cookie.
But then we get like halfway through Beverly Hills Chihuahua, and she's like, let's watch 2 and 3.
All right, Dan, here you go. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 5 sports that Air Bud puts his talents to. Okay.
Yeah.
I want you to. I'll give you. Everyone knows the first one, classic, basketball.
Okay, that wouldn't have been my go-to. My go-to would have been football, as in soccer.
Yes. He in Air Bud World Pup. Josh and Emma, I assume those are his owners, discover Buddy's soccer skills. So 3 more sports.
So hold on, no. Hold on. So, Buddy, first of all, is a top class basketball player.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right, and so they're like, it's so weird. He can play basketball, and then right. There's 2 things that don't match up on this, right? First of all, he's then a superstar soccer player, right?
Yeah.
So he's a superstar soccer player. That does not make sense.
By the way, that's not. You're not doing it in order of the canon. By the way, there is a sport between. There is a bridge between basketball and soccer, so it's not the massive leap of skill and dexterity.
But even so, this animal can do not just one amazing sport to a professional level, but 2, which is more than most humans can do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And also, second of all, they were surprised. Like, this is already a dog that has the ability to play sports to an exceptional level. Like, in both ways, it just does not make any sort of fiction sense. What's this 3rd sport that's in the middle of this?
I'd like to say American football gets in there somewhere.
There we go. So from basketball,
yeah, Using your hands or your paws. I
1
suppose,
year
all the time.
later, after the original
Yeah.
Airbud,
Right, yeah.
he,
conquered the world of basketball.
They released Airbud Golden Receiver, where he
my
learns how
God.
to play
Yes.
American football.
Yeah, okay.
But you can see that, like, receiving for a dog, really. I don't know
It's fetch.
why they started with
Just play
basketball,
catch.
because surely a dog's main skill is someone throwing a ball and it
Yeah.
running and going, I can grab that and then run to another place with it.
Yeah.
I think they started off too big with basketball. No wonder the
Yeah.
rest of them were direct to video.
Yeah.
All right, Dan. 2 more sports that Airbud, and 2 more incredible dog-based puns from the team at
Okay.
Disney.
Is it a Disney joint?
Yeah.
Oh, Disney and your live action.
I've got to say
bollocks.
ice hockey.
Oh no, they never made Airbud pucking hell.
Okay, so
I don't think they'd call it pucking hell.
one swing and a miss. Skiing.
Skiing. Oh no, they didn't make.
There must be a winter sport in there. Figure skating.
No, there's no. I think you're referring to Snow Buddies, the
course I am.
offspring of Buddy and Molly. I take it that's his human wife.
Hold on. So there's a mainline canon.
Yeah.
And then there's spin-offs.
Yeah. Because Buddy has
Right.
puppies, and then
Right.
there's 7 spin-off films of the Buddies, the Buddy family.
Oh
I like the
my
fact
God.
that Pete's words make it sound as if he's surprised at this, where his tone makes it seem that he's really excited that there's a whole new wealth of films for him to watch.
Yeah.
I can just be iller for longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan. 2 more. They're not winter sports. One of them's a
Sprinting.
very summer sport.
Volleyball.
In Airbud, Spike's back. But again, Dan, there is a sport which, to be honest, makes more sense for a dog to be taking part of than any of the others. But yeah, it's 4th on the 5, the quintuplet.
Can you give me a genre of sport for the final?
Sport is a
Sport,
genre
Dan.
within itself.
Well, athletics. There's many sports within athletics.
Oh my God. They should have just done running.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
surely that's the obvious one.
Airbud, Javelin Adventures.
Yeah.
No. Neither did they make Airbud Freediving Champion. Go on, Dan. Think about the sports that have preceded it. Basketball, American
Yeah.
football,
Yeah.
football.
I don't know what the big American sports. I'm thinking
Oh my
of. 'Cause It
God.
wasn't ice.
Oh
Ice
my
hockey would have been
God,
my
Dan.
go-to it.
Ice hockey's
Dan.
ice hockey's a big Canadian sport. Come on.
Yeah, but
Big
it's played in England.
American
Sports, Dan. American sports.
North America and sports that they play in the summer.
Doodly doo doo doo. That was a clue.
How do I know this, Dan?
Because you watch a lot of
Dan, come
animal-based
on.
films.
Right. In our country, we would call this sport cricket.
Baseball.
Well done. Jesus Christ. Airbud, 7th inning
How
fetch.
can he hold the bat?
But no, Dan, he could be an outfield player.
He could be an outfielder, yeah. catching.
Outfielder. Just catch the...
I'll tell you what, though,
He's
I'll
just
tell you
playing
what, though.
fetch then, isn't he?
I tell you what, though, I'd be very interested to find out whether or not because at some point in baseball you have to pitch.
No,
everyone.
not everyone's... No, because it's... No, not everyone's a pitcher.
They don't all just take
okay.
it in turns.
No. It's not
Oh, well,
like
you
cricket.
get away with it then.
Yeah. The
No
pun,
one had noticed.
The pun for this one is a bit of a stretch. 7th inning fetch. Which I take it is a pun on the 7-year itch? I don't know.
No, seventh inning stretch. I think it would be.
Oh right, okay, I see what you mean. That's a how
I think-
you
'cause
know
I-
a lot about baseball.
Because I think it's when baseball stretches on into. It's why you end up with really long games of baseball. Dan, you know how earlier you were talking about not being able to share something? with somebody and you're like, oh, this is a really cool thing that I like, and then your lady partner was like, I don't give a shit. Well, this is something that you and I can share, because I've never really played the Oddworld games. Like, I played them a little bit.
I thought you've been playing them.
Well, I've never really played them before. Like, I played a little bit of Stranger's Wrath just to see it, and maybe a couple of hours of that. And I think everybody played Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey back in the day, just for like first 20 minutes until it got really, really, really hard, on the PlayStation 1 and on PC and stuff like that. But recently, there's a company called Limited Run, and I've been sort of following what they've been doing for a really long time, because I think that what they do is awesome. So what Limited Run does is they take games which are already available, usually, on digital platforms. So it tends to be PlayStation 4 and Vita at the moment. So they take the games that have already come out on those systems, and then they make limited runs, hence the name, of those games, but as physical editions. So they're based out in the States, and they make these limited runs of these usually indie games, so that people who are really into those games can pick up a copy for themselves, have a physical edition, and it's like a nice little extra, Like, some people don't just want digital games, some people want physical games as well, which I think is totally fair, and certainly my mindset, I tend to always buy physical rather than digital, because I'm like, if that server goes down with all of my games on it, then at least I have this disc, and I can throw it in and I can play it again, even though I probably would never want to play it ever again. Anyway, they just did Oddworld New and Tasty on PlayStation 4 and Vita.
Yes, I played it on PS4.
Oh, okay. Did you get it, did you buy it as a download or something like that?
Yeah, I got it as a download.
Right. So, yeah, I nearly bought you a copy of this, because I was just like... So I bought myself a copy because I was like, do you know what? I think this is the first limited run game I'm going to get, because I think there's only a few thousand copies that they printed. And I was like, do you know what? I really want to play Oddworld New and Tasty. This is the game that I'm going to do. Go ahead and purchase. And, yeah, I nearly bought you a copy, because I was just like, this would make for a really good birthday present or a Christmas present down the line. And then I thought, do you know what? I don't actually know whether or not you would have seen it, because I tweeted about it, and I was like, if you bought it as well, I would be like, I could buy it for him, and then... But
what would have been awkward is the fact that not only had I played it, but also I'd have got it, and I would have been like, oh, it's amazing, but I wouldn't have realised that it would have been a limited run, so I would have just thought, you've bought me the game, a game that I've already got, and so I'm actually not going to... I wouldn't have got the fact that it's actually pretty special that it was going to be a physical copy. So it would have all gone horribly wrong.
Yeah.
I would have looked silly. You'd have been disappointed.
Yeah.
Our friendship would have been over.
Yeah. So I take it you didn't buy it then?
Not the physical copy, no. But I played the game. Well,
okay, so obviously there's the physical side of it, which I think is really cool. Like, genuinely, I think that that is a really awesome thing to be doing, like making games that are digital only but physical versions so that fans can get into it. I think that's awesome. But the actual game itself, oh my god, Oddworld New and Tasty feels like Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, but it plays like how I remember it playing, but not actually how Abe's Odyssey actually now plays. Like, Abe's Odyssey now plays a little bit clunky. It feels like the original Prince of Persia. It feels like Flashback. It feels like that era of 2D, figuring out puzzles. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead kind of stuff. Whereas this game feels much more fluid and much more in the vein of how I remember those opening levels actually playing.
What's interesting is, because I love the Oddworld games, and I've talked to you guys before, and you guys, I don't think any of you guys have ever played any of the Oddworld games. So I've always
I have. Hang on. This is like the wrestling conversation all over again. When you two went on a podcast and went, no one here likes wrestling, so we'll talk about it while no one else cares. And I was like, hang on, I love wrestling. How are you going on? I've not played any Oddworld games.
What have you played?
The first one, and the weird third-person...
So you played Abe's Odyssey and Munch's Odyssey?
No. The...
Stranger's Wrath.
Right.
Wrath.
Okay. So, I mean, I've played all of them. I don't think there's any that I haven't played. But yeah,
I also played budding.
Stop.
No, stop.
We'll cut that bit.
But yeah, New and Tasty it's a really good update. Like, it's
it really is
good. I bought it thinking I would love to play this because I know Dan really likes it, and I understand the games that like my pals like. Because if people are talking about games and they're like, "Oh, this is amazing, you should play it," and I don't, then I kind of feel like, well, maybe I'm missing out on something. And I was kind of like, well, maybe this is like nostalgia factor for you. But I started playing it, and I just thought, no, this totally makes sense. This is still a great game.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because, as I said, I've played it actually a few times. I bought the two original games. I think I bought them a couple of times actually. Abe's Odyssey and Abe's Exodus, which are the first two. I think I had them on PC because I got them like as a double pack. I think I bought them on PS4 from kind of the PlayStation Store as well. So I've had it a few different versions. So I've played it quite a few times over the years, and it wouldn't have actually been that long ago that I played one of them. So when I played New and Tasty, there were elements because they have changed some of the control scheme of it. So, for example, in the original, pressing the triangle button takes like a leap forward from a standing still, one leap forward, and that doesn't exist in the New and Tasty version. So my brain used the leap forward as a method of being able to make very deliberate steps forward, say over a bomb or something like that. So I couldn't then do that. So it took me a while to kind of recalibrate how I navigated the world, because some of the elements that I wanted to use in my mind just didn't work anymore. But yeah, that game, and I'm not... The Abe's Odyssey, I didn't play as much as Abe's Exodus, so I still got to really enjoy the game as well. There were still surprises for me and all bits and pieces like that. I tried to save as many of your pals that you have in the game. That was my intention. It didn't work out too well, but I did all right. But yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed it, because I love those games. I think.
Well, so I should say I'm enjoying it. So I've not had a lot of gaming time because it's all been taken up with the massively disappointing Assassin's Creed Chronicles trilogy.
What a surprise, eh?
Yeah, I'm really surprised that's been a really that's now all of the Assassin's Creed games basically played by me, except for some of the handheld spin-offs, which at this point I'm just not bothered. But yeah, that was a massive that was 22 hours of a third of this is good, the rest of it is not great. But so I really needed something to bring me back in. So I've played about half an hour, I would say, of New and Tasty, and it just feels great. It feels exactly like the kind of video game sorbet that I need.
What's the enduring appeal of Abe? Is it the fact that we don't really make games like that anymore, or is it just the world and the character that you think?
I think a big part of the appeal of that world, as in Oddworld inhabitants, is that they set up the lore in such a way. It's called Door Ajar narrative. So Door Ajar narrative essentially says that you give enough information for the player to get through the main linear narrative story beats, i.e. you are Abe and you start here, and by the end of it you'll get here, and you'll be able to make a proper narrative out of all of those steps along the way. But there are also things that come in that are never fully explained. So in the very opening of New and Tasty, there's a video that plays, which is all about the products that the company that you're a slave at make. And one of them, they say, we used to make Meech Munchies until the Meeches run out, or something along those lines. They basically say, we used to make this product until we didn't have this animal anymore. And that's where they leave it. They never explain where the animal comes from, how it, clearly it was killed through... and
it's as you say, just for that one sentence, it's quite sad.
It's really sad, and you think, where did these animals come from? And the animals that they're talking about in these products, some of them are sentient. So you start thinking, so was there a civilization? Where did the civilization live? How did this company get to the point where they could do that? Why is the universe set up in such a way that this kind of corporate destruction can happen. So, but they never explain any of it. They just it's just a throwaway line of, we used to make this and now we can't. And it's real, and that I think holds onto players, and it grabs your imagination.
I think for me, the story itself is a fairly traditional story. It's not. It's the little man fighting back against the big boss. I mean, that's a fairly standard story. I think really what sticks it with me and what kept bringing me back is kind of, as you say, without doing an awful lot, they have created a world which is so vibrant, and all the creatures in it look so distinctive and look like things that you've never seen anywhere else. They don't look like a reskinned version of something else. They all look unique within that world.
They're not orcs and elves and goblins. They're
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest thing you get is the character of Abe, who's a Madokan, and that because the closest you get with him is the fact that he is fairly kind of human in his anatomy, kind of 2 arms, 2 legs, upright, all that stuff. Whereas there's not really any other creature in the game that kind of shares that. I mean, as you go through the game, the other characters you have is you have the Stranger in Stranger's Wrath, who has certain characteristics of human, but as the game goes on, that changes. But also in Munch's Odyssey, you've got Munch, who has 1 foot, and he's basically a little guy with 1 foot, and he's amazing. And I love that game.
Yeah.
I know it's probably the least critically liked game, but I really enjoy that game. And I think one of the reasons for it is because it sticks to, which is something that Stranger's Wrath lost a little bit of. My favourite thing about the Oddworld games is the humour. The humour that comes through those games. Sometimes it's stupid humour, literal fart jokes, to the point where in Abe's Exodus, a weapon you have is possessing one of your farts and making it explode. Awesome. It's stupid, but it's funny. And a lot of that game is slapstick, but it's just really humorous, and it knows that it's being stupid, and it embraces it. So in Munch's Odyssey, when you're the Munch with 1 leg, he's not very fast. So what do? Well, you give him a wheelchair, and the wheelchair squeaks as it goes all around the world, and it's just naturally quite a funny sight to have this little creature in a rickety wheelchair.
Careful, Dan.
Ableist humour.
There's nothing funnier than a 1-legged Madukan.
But I know exactly what you're saying, Dan. Like it isn't ableist humour, because actually he is the star, and like he's amazing. Like from everything I've seen about that game, like he is 100% the hero, and it's not played for, oh, look at the cripple.
No.
It's played as this guy is not your usual character, but he still manages to save the day. And
absolutely. I mean, he's an amphibian character, so in water he's super fast.
Yeah.
But because he's only got 1 leg, he's not fast on land. So they give him a wheelchair so he can get out. So basically, you don't spend ages walking around a level. That's what it is, but it's a humorous way of allowing that to happen by finding a small wheelchair in the middle of a field. You're like, all right, fair enough, I'm on board, I'll do that. Squeakity squeak. Yeah, squeakity squeak.
Squeakity squeak. That's a sequel to G-Force.
I am going to use. I'm throwing my hat onto the conch, and I'm.
What? That isn't a thing.
I'm holding the stick of speak, and the rock of talk
again.
And
no.
I'm going.
You're not allowed to talk about Uncharted 4.
I'm going to.
Because none of us can talk about Uncharted 4.
Here's the thing. Here's the deal. Okay, here's the deal. You can totally talk about Uncharted 4. I would love to hear about it, because I've steered away from reviews and stuff, because I've wanted to keep really pure about it. Here's the thing. If you spoil any fucking bit of this game for me, I will disown you completely.
Uh,
And just so we can be clear, okay?
Yeah.
You making any implications about certain areas of the game that you like?
Yeah. I'm not going to talk about areas. I don't want to.
Okay.
Well, I was going to get you guys to ask me questions, so I'll only answer the things that you want answered. So then I'm not going to. So if I spoil anything, it's your fault. I'm absolving myself.
Okay, well, I've got a great question for you.
Okay, go for it.
A bit of research I have done into Uncharted 4 is what it got on Metacritic, because I think that's a really good barometer for generally how critics feel. And it seems to have got ridiculously high scores across the board. Is it the best Uncharted game?
Yes.
Okay. What is it doing beyond Uncharted 1, 2, 3 and Golden Abyss that and the mobile spin-offs what's it doing different that just puts it into that next level?
All right, okay. To clarify, it's not just the best Uncharted game, but in my mind, and even though it's a game that I want to replay at some point, it's the best Naughty Dog game. Okay.
It's a bold statement, because Last of Us is my favourite game of all time.
And Jak and Daxter is pretty good.
and I'll qualify this by saying that Naughty Dog have actually been very brave with Uncharted in a way where most of its inspiration has come from, in terms of design, narrative and delivery, has all come from The Last of Us rather than the majority of the Uncharted series.
So when you say that, like, obviously you're not talking about like people who are plant zombies, but like, are you like there was a lot of quiet moments in The Last of Us?
Let me break it down to you how I think where this game fits in with Naughty Dog's design ladder. I recently replayed the Uncharted collection. So in Uncharted 1, and this is all conjecture from my part, I feel that Naughty Dog were trying to push the realms of what the system could do, especially in terms of animation. So I'm thinking in specific how the protagonist interacts with the environment. Most people point out the subway scene. Nathan simply putting a hand on the door of the subways as he's going down. Subway? I'm thinking of his advert that he did, Submarine. And Uncharted 2, there was a big leap ahead with, okay, well, how can we've kind of got the character interacting with the environment, how can the environment now interact with the character? And that saw the biggest leap in terms of, right, now things move and interact with you.
This is what Uncharted is, kind of thing.
Yeah. And then people say that 3's a bit of a letdown, but for me, it's the best of that original PlayStation 3 trilogy.
That is bold. That is bold.
It is.
To be fair, I thought that at the time. I think the story in 2 is better, but I thought I liked more of what I saw in Uncharted 3 than
This
Uncharted
is what
2.
I said to Chris. I said, yes, the story is better in 2, but it's told better in 3.
Agreed, yeah.
And for me, that's what they kind of started to get right, is that balance between storytelling and action-adventure. In The Last of Us, it's really nailing that narrative and world design, and then that all comes together with Uncharted 4. And to the fact that Uncharted 4, when you press X to start the game, it's a black screen with white numbers in the bottom left-hand corner of your loading percentage. Like, in terms of what they've taken from The Last of Us, it's that much. So you start the game pretty much exactly like you started every The Last of Us, every time you jumped into it. Dan, questions?
I don't really have any questions, because I don't want to know anything that I don't want to know.
Okay.
Can I have another question?
Yeah, of course you can. You have as many as you want.
Dan's amazing.
Great radio, Dad.
Great radio, yeah. So I don't have any questions for you. Can we move on to the next thing?
Yeah, because I don't want to get anything spoiled from me.
There's, I don't need to know specifics.
No.
But is is there going to be an Uncharted 5?
I don't want to say.
Okay, fine.
Naughty Dog, in my understanding of kind of the build-up to it, I would have said that this was going to be the last Uncharted. That was from, because I know you've obviously stayed clear of stuff. So from my understanding, and I've not seen a lot of it either, but my understanding in the build-up was that this was going to be the last one.
Because obviously, I'm not talking about whether or not there's a death or whether or not there's an end to a story or anything like that. But like I don't need to know the specifics of it. But is it just simply? I guess my feeling is Naughty Dog have always made games that you can tell they've come to the end of a series because they're like, there's not really anything else we can do within this framework. Whereas with Uncharted 3, you looked at it and you went, there's some really interesting storytelling stuff that they're just starting to do here that you could totally see another game work on that.
So this is what I'll say. About 8 hours into Uncharted 4, my thoughts were constantly, why can they not just make this series forever?
Right,
it's that good. And this is no detriment of the game, but when it finished, I don't want another Uncharted.
Okay, interesting. I so want to play it. Like, there's so much on my backlog right now, but
You just gave 22 hours to a shit Assassin's Creed Chronicles.
It's a problem. It's a real problem. Do you know, I got to the end of it and went, oh, well, I mean, 6 or 7 hours of that was quite fun, but I mean, the rest of it wasn't great. Well, but that's okay. That's me done with the Assassin's Creed series this year. And then I went, except for, of course, I've got to go and see the movie. Oh, and there's that iOS mobile spin-off that I haven't played yet. And then immediately my brain was like, stop it, dickhead! Like, there are so many other
I'll tell you what, Pete. If you get that hankering, okay, if you get that Assassin's Creed hankering in the back of your mind, just kind of inching its way up, okay, play Shadow of Mordor.
No, I don't want to,
because that will give you a lot of the stuff that you want from Assassin's Creed. However, it's a better game.
No, you are conflating what I get out of Assassin's Creed. That's like me, right? Like, I am addicted to meth. Essentially, at this point, it's not like I'm like, oh, meth's great, meth's fine. I'm sure meth's fine for a meth addict, right? I'm sure they're like, yeah, this is fine, this is okay. At this point, I'm not getting anything great out of it. It's just simply I can't stop. Like, if I'm so invested at this point in the Assassin's Creed series that I have to keep going. Like, as soon as they go, oh, this is definitely canon, I'm like, well, I've got to play it then, because at some point, surely they'll make
a game
good
that's not
on the
broken.
prospect of, like, all of the story they've been setting up. At some point, they'll have to just say, okay, let's move the narrative on. They won't just keep, like, reeling me in with, oh, maybe you'll find out about what Project Phoenix is. No. Oh, maybe you'll find out about what Desmond was no. Like, maybe Jude. No. Like, it's just... It's a problem, and I need to get it to the... I need to just not be around that series anymore for a little bit.
Well, back to Uncharted 4. What's that, Dan? What's that, Dan? You've got a question for me?
No,
yeah, I do. I just wanted to ask, Sam. What gameplay changes have Naughty Dog put in, to make it seem a lot more relevant game? Well, I'll tell you, Dan, that's a very good question. That's something that I'd like to be able to answer with you and not spoil anything for you. And I'll talk about two things specifically. So this is, firstly, it's probably the least linear Uncharted game that they've come out with. So for the first time, you're responsible as Nathan Drake for making journal notes.
Cool.
So if you don't explore the environment to its fullest, then there are potentially things and notes in your book that you will miss. So in previous Uncharted games, you get to a puzzle and you'd open up your journal and you would have just filled it with tons of stuff that you would have never encountered and never have done.
Yeah.
In this, 90%, probably about more than that, 95% of the stuff, actually no, 100% of the stuff that goes to the journal is either put in by yourself or at least referenced with conversations with other characters, so you know the source of where it's from. And the detail of the journal is so much that when you come across stuff and put it in, you can actually see Nathan drawing in his journal, like over his shoulder as he's doing it. It's incredible. That's the level of detail that they've gone to. So you'll see something, draw it in your journal, and you can see the sort of vague black and white drawing in the notebook before he closes it. And then,
do you know, stuff like that, like, as somebody who works at an indie company, like, stuff like that makes me go, wow, that's amazing, but it also makes me massively annoyed, because I just, as somebody who's producing like an indie project, I hear about a feature like that and think about exactly how much that would cost to implement and make, and I just think, like, I could probably make a decent indie game out of that.
Yeah,
just the amount of time it will have taken to, and budget and people, to get Nathan Drake drawing doodles into a fucking sketch pad.
The journal takes on a massive role in this, and you can get it out at any time. And your journal.
Batman!
Which makes a massive difference to the previous ones, where it felt like all your journal was a, here's how to solve this puzzle book.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas in this, it's not. There is, because of the nature of the quest that you're on, which is arguably this is an adventure they should have taken Nathan on from the first, in terms of, you know, who he is, a job as a treasure hunter should have gone on. But yeah, the journal's great, and the other great thing they do in terms of gameplay is that the climbing is non-linear. So there are multiple paths that you can now take up a mountain or along a wall. So when you're looking at a wall before in Uncharted, you're like, right, look for the yellow. And while there is a lot of that, now it's more like, right, I can see that there's things that I can climb on there, but how do I get there? I can either take this journey up left on the left-hand side, or I can take this journey up on the right-hand side and go over there. So you no longer feel like you're being funneled in a certain direction. You can actually decide which path you take to a destination, which for me probably made it, because that was my biggest problem with Uncharted 3, is you have these great, incredible scenes, and then suddenly that would be wide and expansive, and then suddenly everything would be funneled very thinly, like down a narrow corridor. But here it's that feeling of just being in this world is never narrowed or never blinkered from you. You're always in it.
I have a question on that note.
Go on.
Is there a noticeable reduction in the amount of strategically placed waist-high walls? Or are there conveniently placed barrels still located around the place?
There are, but there are a lot.
Do they feel organic like they did in Last of Us?
Yes. Because the firefights in this Uncharted are a lot fewer. There's less of them, and they're more balanced.
Cool.
So there are no real kill rooms. You know in Uncharted 3, well, all of them, where you sit in a room and it just be endless waves and waves and waves of enemies, and you just feel like, oh, come on. Like, they even pastiched it themselves.
You're just like, give me the drum.
Yeah.
Like, you just want that da-da-dum, and you're like, good, and now I can move on.
Here, the firefights are a lot more organic and interesting, and some of the places that they take part on are just absolutely incredible. So it does feel a lot more organic, and I think they've got the pacing down so much that you're always ready for a fight, and the breaks in between are a lot longer, and you don't feel like you're wasting your time. It's great. But yeah, play it. Did you guys see that What's being made into a movie? Oh, what was it? It's a shitty mobile game that's being made into a movie.
Right. First of all, where's the hatred coming from? Second of all, are you thinking of Fruit Ninja?
Yes, that is it.
Yeah. I saw the headline for this and just went, I am so glad I don't cover mobile games anymore. Like, yeah. So they're making Fruit Ninja into a mobile game, but then here's the thing. Sorry, not
into a movie.
They're making Fruit Ninja into a movie.
Hang on.
Right.
So, start me off at the beginning. Fruit Ninja was a game that David Cameron really liked, wasn't it?
Did he?
Yes.
Okay.
What is
maybe
Fruit Ninja?
Fruit Ninja is a game in which you are presented with a screen, and on the screen a bunch of fruit fling up into the air, and also occasionally a bomb. And the idea is that you swipe on the screen with your finger over the fruit, and it slices through them, and you get points. If you swipe multiple fruit at the same time, you get multiple bonuses for doing those fruits. If you swipe through a bomb, the game ends. It's an endless action game, so it's the idea of highest score and competing
All right,
with friends.
okay, so now I want your film synopses for how swiping at mindless, boring fruit is going to be somehow made into a 90-minute movie.
So, unfortunately, I think they do have some plot already in Fruit Ninja, which is that you are training with a sort of like martial arts master, and the reason he's throwing fruit at you is it's like one of those wax-on, wax-off things from Karate Kid. So, I imagine it will go down the, let's explore this fascinating character, sort of route.
I can't imagine in this day and age that we are going to make a film. I say we, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not you or I.
It's not you or I.
We're busy making Batman.
We're busy making Batman, the Banter Files. That we're making a film that's going to promote food wastage.
Right. And like the Angry Birds movie is like
well, that promotes time
animals.
wastage, but that's a different thing. Like, I could imagine in Fruit Ninja that he uses his ninja skills they use their ninja skills to prepare fruit in interesting ways for interesting clients.
That'd be fine. Yeah,
that works. Like there's a row of
that'd be nice.
Monks or nuns or that, and they're just like, oh, we really wanted some banana splits, but we can't split enough bananas in the time given to us, so we really need to get like a Fruit Ninja in to split the bananas.
Yeah.
Can you split the bananas? And yeah, of course I can split the bananas.
Sam, that sounds horrible.
And look,
that sounds like a horrible film.
Well, we all already know that Fruit Ninja is going to be an awful, awful film, along with the Tetris movie. But
exactly. Now this is it. Hollywood has been optioning video games for years, whether or not anything ever comes out of them. Like, it's genuinely a miracle that Assassin's Creed is coming out as a movie. Like, the Prince of Persia thing, again, it feels like it's just Ubisoft getting films made. Like,
and even then, the Assassin's Creed movie hasn't been brave enough to actually set the film in the time, or make a film that's actually reflects the game in any possible way. So 30% of it's only going to be
different
actually
location, different time, different characters. There is a little bit of crossover apparently, but I mean, but here's the thing: Missile Command, Space Invaders, Tetris, as you said, all of these have been optioned to be made into movies. I can tell you right now that like if the Tetris movie gets made to any level that it would end up in a cinema, I would be massively surprised.
The thing is, though, you say that in terms of Tetris, if you said 5 years ago and they announced that there was going to be a movie about Lego, you'd have said, that's ridiculous, that's absurd. And many people did say that. No, they did. Many people thought it was absurd there would be a Lego movie.
But Lego has got characters and things that you can build Lego stuff out of. So even though, a Lego movie might have been quite a stretch a few years ago, you could at least gone, well, you can build whatever you want out of Lego, so I guess they can make a movie about whatever you want. Or you can build out of Tetris as a line.
The point is, it's about the people who are making it and the people who are writing it. And if you get the right creative people, if they have an idea that can
but
twist
where do you go with
it,
Tetris?
Well, you'll wait and see. They're already talking about doing a trilogy. They're not just talking about
My
one
God.
film.
No, that's not real. Surely
That is.
not.
They're already
A
talking about it being a trilogy.
Film
Trilogy of
industry's
Tetris.
gone mantle.
Tetrilogy.
Mantle. Look,
Who is greenlighting this shit? Like
Clearly, they think they have a good idea.
The Tetris IP isn't even that big anymore.
I'd like to see.
Oh
I'd
my
like to see a
God.
movie of how Tetris was invented. That's an interesting movie. You know,
Yeah,
behind
that'd
the
be-
Iron Curtain of the Cold War, and
So there's some really great documentaries about that stuff, and yeah, like that would be really, really cool. Like, I mean, a better movie would be a Clash of Clans movie, because at least there's characters. Like, even if they're paper thin, at least there's human beings who are able to speak, like, or interact in some way. But like a Tetris movie, but it's the same, you know, Missile Command. But then that being said, they made a Battleship movie.
yeah, but yeah,
Like, ultimately, all of this is, again, it comes back to this idea of nostalgia. They will try and sell it on nostalgia. There isn't a good artistic reason to make movies like this. Like, yeah, and they will have also have seen the amount of money that
Pixels made.
and like the amount of money that Rovio's put into the Angry Birds movie. Like they put together an entire animation studio just to make that movie. So clearly they're banking on it doing really, really well.
It didn't review very well, but it took Civil War off
But
the
it
top
knocked Civil
spot.
War off the top.
Yeah,
Yep. Like,
I didn't even know Angry Birds was still a thing. Is that still a thing?
yeah, kids love Angry Birds. Kids absolutely love it.
Peter Willington down with the kids.
I know. Hello, everyone.
Careful,
Well, that's
Rovio
creepy.
makes more money out of
merchandise.
merchandising and all that sort of stuff.
So it's a
than the actual
Spider-Man
games
effect,
themselves.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a question for you.
Great.
I've had this question. I've asked this question to some friends, and there was some divisive answers. So I'm going to ask the same to you. Okay.
Right, Twix.
It's not that question.
All right.
The question is:
Peanut M&Ms. First, I
In a
eat the
sandwich-
caramel on top and leave the biscuit part for later. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. How do you eat a Twix?
Yeah, you're a heathen.
I just eat it. I just sit there and eat it because I'm just like, it's a Twix. Like I don't. It's not a toy.
Yeah, but sometimes you want to make it last longer.
That's not why I'm in on the Twix. I'm not into the Twix to make it last longer. I'm into the Twix to get as much of the deliciousness
Okay.
into my mouth.
Dan,
as
was that your
possible.
question?
Surprisingly not.
Okay, you can ask your question now.
My question is:
Oh, sometimes I'll lick it first and then...
All right, I'm giving up. I'm saying goodbye to you if you're not going to shut up.
Batman.
Dan, come on. What's the question?
No, I'm not asking.
I know
it.
what it is, so I'll just
Dan.
ask it for you. Right, guys.
No, Dan, no, you can't. It's Dan's question. Dan,
Not doing it. Not doing it.
Dan.
You pushed
Dan,
me
it's
too
your
far.
question.
Pete. You pushed
no,
me
Dan,
too
it's your
far
question. I
this
know I
time,
teased you. Come on.
And now you
Come on,
have
ask
to
the
live
question.
with the consequences.
Because I think this is right. This question, I'm pretty sure I asked you and rocked your world with it.
I
I'm
don't think
pretty
so.
sure you've
Yeah,
stolen this
yeah.
question from me. Yeah.
I don't think so.
All right, I'll ask it. What's the most important part of a sandwich?
Right.
The bread or the filling? Now, can I just clarify
Right.
that the most important part of a sandwich conceptually is the fact you can hold it with one hand. That's why it was invented. We're going to park that to the side for one minute.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
This has been designated by Mr. Frost as a 2-point question. He's set the parameters. We're not going to talk about sandwich concepts. No, Pete, you can't argue with me that if you can't hold a sandwich with one hand.
It's not going to do that. The most important thing about the concept of a sandwich
got out of control.
is that it is the bread and it is the filling. That is what makes it.
Oh, I
the
completely agree with
sandwich.
you.
Okay, right.
therefore
Okay. Fine. Just as long as our philosophy is on the same level.
Yeah,
Like,
sandwich philosophy, by the by. Can you still have a
By
good
the by.
sandwich, but... So, right, I'm going to set the scene. I'm going to paint a word picture for you. Okay?
Right.
So close your eyes. Dan's already done it. Oh no, he's opened them now. Close your eyes. You're walking down a Parisian high street. It's a lovely sunny summer's day. The Eiffel Tower is just peeking its nose above the tops of some classic Parisian streets, and your nose is drawn towards the freshly baked bread of a Parisian bakery or a bakery, as I believe it's.
Kind of feel like you're already sort of.
No,
what you feel
not
is
at all.
the-
Not at all. No,
Okay,
I'm just
okay,
trying
fine.
to paint you a picture.
Okay, fine.
And you walk into the shop, and as you do so, a stout young Frenchman his
What's his
name
name?
is Jacques, and he is wearing a striped black and white T-shirt, and he is just pulling out of the oven a very long and toasty baguette. And you take this baguette from him,
That sounds nice.
and inside this baguette you put in a whole pack of 50p Morrison's wafer-thin styled ham. Is that still a good sandwich? And Jacques stands at you while you place the baguette in between your mouth and other mouth,
Right.
like lips, and chow down.
Dan, where do you stand on this issue?
Bread.
Right. Okay. Right.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
No, but I mean, okay. So, but
I think Dan's
Okay.
created Batman's arch nemesis.
yeah. Sad man. What?
So Dan, you think the bread's most so Dan, in that situation, you'd still think that's a great sandwich, freshly baked.
The answer is bread, because the best part of the sandwich is the bread.
Why?
It's not even up for discussion.
Why?
It's the bread.
Why?
If I'm faced with, as you say, Sam, a perfectly beautiful crusty loaf from the baker's, sort of hot from the oven, with just a piece of wafer-thin ham from the shop,
Yeah.
or
What about mushy? What about
Gorgeous ham.
mushy carrots? You got to set some parameters on the filling, because you can't just put anything.
when you go into the fact of really horrible fillings or really horrible
It's
bread,
just horrible.
so you have to make it sensible.
I am being
so if I go
sensible.
from the other side of this, and you look at really fresh, gorgeous smoked ham
Yeah.
on bit of dry bread, bit of kind of Tesco Savers own brand.
Yeah. Just like
Cheap,
economy
thin
bread. Economy bread.
Yeah, that kind of crumbles as you eat it.
Yeah.
It's still fresh, but it's not nice bread. If you showed me those two sandwiches and asked me which one did I want, 10 times out of 10,
Yeah, but
I would
looks
go for
can
the
be
one
deceiving,
with
though.
the nice bread.
Yeah.
If you were to have rotisserie chicken plucked off the bar, carved by a lovely young lady behind the
What's her
counter
name?
named Joan,
Yeah, okay.
and she was to place the steaming white carcass of the bird in between two pieces of horrible white sweet bread, you'd still enjoy the chicken inside that bread.
Yeah.
Like, the bread is not going to harm the taste of that chicken.
Yeah, no. The question
Oh, okay.
isn't does the
No,
filling.
no.
No, because you.
What's the most important part? What I'm saying is,
filling.
what's the most important part of the sandwich? Hence, the
Exactly.
filling, because the bread doesn't harm the filling, but the filling can harm the bread.
Oh, okay. But can it?
Yeah.
I mean, like.
Because you've got to look at a sandwich in its entirety.
I am.
You can't just look at the filling.
But when we started this, we agreed that the conceptual part of a sandwich is
The whole
two
thing.
pieces of
It's the
bread
whole thing.
with
No,
filling in
yeah.
between.
Which part is most important? So you have to look at the sandwich in its entirety to see which bit is the most important. You can't just say this is nice filling, so obviously the filling's
Can I
more
throw a
important.
curveball into this?
Curve it.
You can have a sandwich in which the filling is there, but the bread is not. So you can have a sandwich in which there's filling, and then instead of bread, you have lettuce leaves.
Yeah, but it's not a
It's
traditional
not
sandwich.
a traditional sandwich, but here's my thinking. That would therefore say that the sandwich filling is the thing that makes it the sandwich, because the two pieces of bread can be interchanged with two other things. Now, if the question is, what's the most important thing between a sandwich that is made of bread, the bread or the filling, I think that's a perfectly valid argument. But if the question is, what's the most important part of a sandwich, it's got to be the filling, because the sandwich, the idea of what a sandwich is that it is a piece of food that is held with two other similar pieces of food.
Is that the definition of a sandwich, though? I don't think. If you looked at two pieces of lettuce with some ham in between...
Let's find out. Hold on. Right. So, sandwich. Oxford Dictionaries. Would we agree that this is good? That this is a good place to find a definition?
Yeah.
Okay. Sandwich. Noun. An item of food consisting of two pieces of bread with a filling between them, eaten as a light meal. 1.1. British. A sponge cake of two or more layers with jam or cream between. So there's a filling there, but suddenly, the end pieces are different. 1.2. Something that is constructed like or has the form of a sandwich. So, therefore, you would have to say that the most important part of a bread sandwich, a sandwich that has bread, right? So bread and, like, let's say a piece of ham. The most important thing, there's totally discussion to be had there. But what's more important, the bread or the filling, in terms of a sandwich generally? Many things can be a sandwich. They don't have to have bread, but they all have to have a filling. Therefore, the most important thing is the filling. Now, if you're talking about bread sandwich, then I completely agree with you, Dan. It's the bread, because fuck that. But the actual.
So I would disagree with that, only for the fact of as we just checked the Oxford Dictionary, the first explanation, the number one explanation. Not 1.1 or 1.2 is
number one
refers to it as consisting of two pieces of bread with a filling between them.
Right, yeah, but you're putting emphasis on them putting that in order.
I get the feeling if I looked elsewhere, that would follow suit.
Yeah.
But the answer to the question is simple. What's more important in a sandwich? A sandwich made of bread. The bread or the filling?
Blah, 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 blah. That's not the question. The question is what's more important in a sandwich.
Yeah, you can't change the parameters now.
If you want to change the parameters on it, that's fine.
I still stand by most important part of a sandwich is the bread.
You can have a sandwich without bread.
You show me a piece of lettuce, some ham, and a piece of lettuce on top, and no one will look at that and say that's a sandwich.
I can walk into a gourmet burger restaurant that's just down the road and say, can I have a burger sandwich? Because that's officially what they're called.
And they won't give you lettuce.
And there is an option on the menu. There is an option on the menu of lettuce, meat, and lettuce.
Yeah, and do they refer to it as a sandwich, or do they say,
Yes, it's a burger.
Is it a sandwich without bread?
If you're Dan, we're on the tube. Pete's standing to the left of you. I'm standing to the right of you. You're officially sandwiched in between two handsome young men. We're not made out of bread, but yet we're called a sandwich.
That's a terrible argument.
But one I've made very well.
That was Staying In with Daniel Frost, Sam Turner, and me, Peter Willington. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit stayingin.podbean.com for more information and links to the comics, games, movies and more covered in this episode. And come find us on Twitter on @StayingInPod. Thanks for listening.